Hey gang, we are going to do an exercise that works with all these new shapes that we just learned, and this is sort of what you want the end of your exercise to look like. Now you will be creating this from scratch. Okay, so what I want you to do is to say File New or Command N and just pick a regular letter size image, vertical, and go ahead and name it with your name. So I'll put Molyneux. Underdash first initial, underdash, let's just call this line, arc, spiral, grids. Woo! So you know all the stuff you're going to learn in it. And say OK. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use your rectangular grid tool on this first layer. And we're going to just click and drag across the whole image, and what I'd like you to make sure is that you have 6 compartments across from left to right and 8 up. So right now I have only 6 and 6. I'm going to press the up arrow twice and I should have 8. Those look pretty much like squares, or if they're not, they're close enough for me. So I kind of want to divide the space as equally as possible. Okay, so I've done that, and I'm going to go ahead and just double click outside this layer and call this my grid template. Click template. Okay, so now it's locked. Make a new layer. And let's double check in our view that we just have smart guides on. It's okay if you have snap to point, but you might not even need that. I'm going to leave it on for now. Please don't have snap to grid because that's the Illustrator grid, not the grid you just made. Okay, so that looks fine. Use your polar grid tool, and I'm going to go to the center here, hold Option and Shift so that this is a circle, and I want to make sure I have 6 circles, so looks like I do, and I want 7 lines. So right now I have 5, so I'm going to press the right arrow twice. There. And I'm just going to drag this until the top and bottom match up with my first grid lines from the top and bottom. So it's not quite to the left and right all the way, but it's to the top and bottom. Okay? Double click outside this and call this my polar grid template. And go ahead and make it a template. Okay. Next, I'm going to make a new layer, and we'll call this Spiral Practice. And we're going to use some spacing on this grid to create our spiral. Okay, so in this spiral layer, I'd like you to just click on the spiral, click out here, and let's make sure that we're going to the right here. So choose the spiral that goes clockwise rather than counterclockwise. And it doesn't matter, we're going to resize it after it's made, and 80% is fine. 10 segments is fine. Okay? What you're going to do is use your selection tool to select this, and you can either arrow or click and drag this thing around. And I'd like you to place it. Okay, so I want you to place it so that this spiral lines up so this center point is on the intersection of this line, this grid line, let's see, right there. Okay, so this center point of the spiral is on both this line, and this top arc here is on this circle. Okay, so it should look like this. Okay, if I take this off, it's like that. Okay, so this line lines up with this straight grid as well as this line, that little anchor there. Okay, and it rests on this arc. So you might need to sort of look at this a few times, look back and forth between your document and this, so that's correct. Then we'll make another layer, and we can lock your spiral practice layer. Okay, and on this new layer we're going to call this Arc Practice Template. And don't lock it yet, we'll do that in a minute. What we're going to do is create a few shapes that you'll try to use to help guide some of your arc practice. Okay, so we will use a rounded rectangle. And notice I have kind of the default colors, but I took off the fill. Okay, and we're going to just go to this intersection of your polar grid and hold the Option key. And I'd like you to kind of align so that it intersects right here with the top of the arc right here, and also with this second from the right grid line, like this. Okay, so this line, this intersection of the line and the arc, and you used this arc right here where this line intersects this arc for your centerpiece. So this is going to be the rectangle that you'll use to trace. You're also going to grab a ellipse, go to the center here, hold Option and Shift, click and drag so that you match up a circle with the center point, and use your selection tool, and you can either click and drag or arrow, and I want you to put the center of that circle right here at this anchor. The next thing we're going to do is put a 4-pointed star that's centered right here on this anchor. And I'm just going to grab my star tool, buried under my rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, all that. And I'm going to go right over that anchor. My smart guides will help me. Hold Shift, and if it's not already a 4-pointed star, you can press the up and down arrows till you have 4 points. And I'm going to drag this so that I'm aligning my cursor actually with this grid line right here. You can see that's highlighted. You'll see the stars actually going beyond that right now. And then release. Now I'm going to only be using this sort of for a template image. When you use the arc tool, we're going to make a star that actually has curves instead of these straight lines coming into the center. Okay, but this is just something to use in terms of placement. I think that the rest of the curves we're going to be able to do just the arc tool itself for. So these are just kind of where to put some of the imagery. Okay?